Hey guys, I'm Jasmine Sweet.
And I'm Alex Sweet.
And today we are here in Nashville at the Virgin Hotel talking to some of our couple friends. So it's the month of love, so we are talking all matters of the heart, and we're diving deep into what, babe?
Yeah, so we got a few of our couple friends here. We're gonna talk about, finances, relationships, parenthood, as well as spirituality and mental health as well.
Yeah, so we have some subject matter experts here. So not only are they couple friends, but we have a financial expert here. We have someone who's actually a mental health counselor. So you're going to hear from the experts today, but you're also going to hear true love stories from the Black love that we have witnessing going on today.
So sit tight and enjoy.
Yeah.
How you doing? My name is Marcus Johnson. I am a financial planner here in Nashville. I own a firm called Johnson Capital Planning, and I'm here with my wife.
My name is Jamaria Johnson. I am a lifestyle blogger as well as working in management, and we have been together for
11 years.
Almost 12 years.
And have been married for, it'll be 6 years this April.
Yep.
What are some realistic financial goals for new couples? So, the newlyweds coming out, what are some realistic financial goals?
Okay. So the first thing I would tell you is to just get on the same page. Actually figure out what you want to do, right? So have your goals, have a conversation about what you want to accomplish on both sides, and then y'all kind of come together and actually build some type of plan so that you're on the same front. The other thing I tell new couples is don't get into that mode of this is my money, your money, right? It should be all in one. So one of the tricks I tell new couples is to get one joint account, right? And then one person gets their own separate account, and the other person gets their own separate account, and y'all kind of figure out how much money you should be paying into the joint and then keeping together, and that'll kind of get you out of that whole mode of mine versus yours type thing. So that's some good advice for new couples.
Yeah, because I feel like sometimes when you're new into a relationship, it's easy to feel like you want to maintain that sense of self and not give it all away. So having that pot to put the majority in and then still having that independence, over here and on the side, it kind of helps with that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are we responsible for the next generation? And if so, what can families do now to help the next generation?
Absolutely. I agree 100% that, success without a successor is failure. And I preach about that a whole lot. And so one of the main things you can do to help pass wealth to the next generation is buy life insurance, right? It's a way that you can pay pennies on the dollar to pass assets on to the next generation, and it's tax-free. Right, and so it's just a great way to start that and build that generation wealth that we talk about. And then also the thing is to kind of have a succession plan for a lot of these business owners out here thinking that your retirement is going to be your saving grace for retirement, et cetera, et cetera. Actually having a plan in place called succession planning, so that way those assets can transfer to the next generation without going through all types of taxes and probate, et cetera, et cetera.
So you guys have been together almost 12 years. So what is the trick to a long relationship?
You want to go first? Or you want me to go
Sure.
first? Okay.
I honestly feel like the key and the main reason why we've been together so long is that we're literally best friends.
Yeah.
He and I have known each other since I was 16 years old, and we became really, really great friends off the bat. And so we already knew so much about each other, going into the relationship. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have too many surprises. Once we decided that we wanted to date each other, it was literally okay, well, I know what you were doing over here, because you already told me. So You got to wrap that up, if you want to be with me. So it was kind of we didn't have those secrets.
Just kind of piggybacking off that, I would just say that the friendship was the foundation. So we went into that first, right? I think a lot of times people go into it with trying to do the dating thing first, and they don't really necessarily know that individual as a friend. And so if you guys can kind of have that friendship as that foundation, then moving on to your relationship, it can kind of last. And so I think we've done a great job.
Yeah, and one more thing, I would say that communication is key. We had to learn firsthand how to communicate effectively because we were long distance for the first 4 years of our relationship.
That is very true.
So during that time, we were definitely learning how to communicate to where we both were satisfied with the form of communication and the amount of communication. So yeah, I think that's
Enough said.
Yeah.
Influencer life is new to a lot of people, and you're sharing your actual life. So your relationship is also something that you share. So what's it like, or how much are you willing to share of you and Marcus on social media?
Well, it's funny you asked me that because I was literally just talking to him about this the other day. I have always been an open book. Everybody might not feel that way, and that's okay, but like I really am down to share any and everything, you know, like the nitty gritty. I mean, obviously we'll have some things that we keep behind closed doors, but for the most part, I'm literally an open book. Yeah. And it's hard because he's kind of the opposite. And he really is like a private person. He's not really used to being in front of the camera, like taking pictures and doing all of that. So like trying to pull him in to be comfortable with that has been a little bit of a struggle. But I think because I've been doing this almost 6 years now, he kind of understands a little bit more.
Yeah, I understand
what it's like, and he's definitely on board. I mean, he's been supportive, but he's on board with like me sharing us.
Yeah, it's a little balance, you know.
It's a little balance,
you know,
yeah.
Let me have my, you know, what I was doing before.
Yeah.
Mixed in with, you know, the cameras and all that type of stuff is not really my thing, but you know, in marriage you gotta have sacrifice and compromise. So there you go.
There you go.
So this is a common theme for people that we heard a lot when we first got married, but we're wondering what you guys think about it. Is marriage hard?
What do you think?
I mean, I think that marriage isn't necessarily hard, but it's definitely work, right? So you have to work at it, you know what I'm saying? So nothing that's gonna be successful in life is just gonna happen overnight, or it's gonna be easy, right? So every day, you know, you learning that individual, you learn how to have empathy for that individual. And I think that was probably the biggest thing for me, was just learning how to understand her feelings, even if I didn't necessarily agree with, you know, why she felt a certain way. And so from that, you know, we were just able to expand on it. And I think that, you know, every day I'm happy that where I'm at. I definitely feel like I made the right decision.
Yeah, I don't think that, I'll piggyback off what he said. I don't necessarily think that marriage is hard, but it's just something that you have to show up for every single day. You can't just sit back and be like, oh, I'm married, and then like not put that work in. You have to show up and be intentional about your actions with your significant other, because I mean, you are like two growing human beings, especially like I said, we've known each other since I was 16. We've been together since I was 18.
Yeah.
So I'm not that same person. He's not that same person. So being able to grow together and like understand each other, that's a part of it. So
I agree.
It's what you make it.
Absolutely.
So, as a financial advisor, I'm sure you saw the fiascos that happened earlier this week. This is January the 30th right now.
Yep.
So, I have a quick question for you.
Okay.
I lost my notes. Explain to us what happened with Robinhood, the app.
Yeah.
As it pertains to AMC stock and the GameStop stock earlier this week.
So I'm gonna try to keep this as general and brief as possible. All right. So let's first back up before we can even get into GameStop and Robinhood. Let's talk about how the markets work. So we make money off the stock market two different ways, right? Capital appreciation, meaning I bought a stock at one price, it goes up, I made a gain. Or a stock paying a dividend, right? And so that means that a company is gonna say, we've made this profit, we're gonna pay you in the form of a dividend. So let's understand that. So what happened was another app called Reddit had a group of people who just said, you know what, we don't want GameStop to go out, so we just gonna start buying a whole bunch of their stock. And so what that does is it drives the stock price, right? Because that demand is what pushes it to go up, right? And so Robinhood couldn't hold that because they have to have so many cash reserves for every share that's happening. So they couldn't sustain it at no point. They couldn't do it, right? So they had to restrict people from being able to go. But the reality is that people got upset, or Wall Street got upset because they beat them at their own game, right? The little guy was starting to win, and honestly, you know, it's not going to be sustainable because you have to continue to put money into these stocks for it to stay at those prices. So you're going to see a decline happen here soon. But you know, that's kind of the gist of what happened. You probably never see this happen again in history because I'm sure the government is going to get in here and have some new regulations. It's coming.
What's going on? My name is Nate Derry. This is my wife, Jasmine.
Hello.
We've been together 11 years, married for 6, and I co-own a gym and about to be a firefighter.
And Nate, actually got me excited about entrepreneurship, and I own a business called Twisted Corks. I also work in the medical field as a community outreach coordinator and manage Airbnbs and short-term rentals.
How can your spouse help you with your business? I know you said you own your own business right now, and Nate, I know you co-own a gym as well. How can the spouses help each other in their business?
I think the main thing I try to do is take some of the load off of her so she can do her business. So in that, it might be house chores, watching the baby, marketing. You know, I passed the card out yesterday. Just little small things to take the weight off her shoulders so that she can do her job.
I say that is 100% accurate. And also muscle work. So I have to load things, I have to move things, I have to set up things, and I always think I can do it by myself, and then I'm like, hey, I need you to come out, I need you to put this, and then not to take offense when we're in that mode of like rushing and like doing a lot, and I can't always say pretty please. Sometimes it's like we're getting down to business, and then we'll talk about it later, and just having that understanding is really helpful.
So when did you know you wanted to run a business? And what was that initial conversation like with your spouse? When was it you like, all right, hey, look, I have this idea. This is what I want to do. What do you think?
I'm gonna take this one because this is actually like night one of us dating. So before we were married, all of that, night one, Nate introduced me to a business idea. It was our first business. It was an online e-commerce style business. And literally after our date, he says, have you ever just like wanted to do more in life? Or have you ever felt like you wanted to do more than you're doing right now? And I like instantly fell in love with that concept and that idea, and I have been wanting to do more. So that was the very foundation of our marriage, and from that point on, we knew we wanted to be entrepreneurs. We knew we wanted to do things outside of the box.
And for me, since I was a kid, I always wanted to own a business, so I had all kind of small businesses leading up to college, and then I guess when I got to college, I learned how to actually run one. So a couple janitorial franchise, small, just all kinds of little nicks and nacks. But you know, I kind of learned that I like working for myself, and it evolved into, okay, let me find a passion and then make a business of it. And that's how I ended up in the fitness industry.
Guys, it is 2021 and entrepreneurship is a common conversation for a lot of people. They're looking for new ways to make money. Is entrepreneurship for everyone?
No.
Absolutely not.
It is not. You have to, we call it entrepreneurial brain damage. You kind of have to want it. It is, I think personally, and I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I think going to work and be able to clock in and clock out and receive a paycheck and have benefits is great. You can do that. You can make plenty of money, live a happy life. Entrepreneurship has a lot of ups and a lot of downs. So, and ones your business could have been on top of the world, and then a pandemic happens.
Hello.
You know, so it's like there's so many ups and downs. You gotta kind of have to want it and enjoy it, and enjoy the daily grind, not so much, you know, the success, a lot of failures.
Yeah, you can't think it's going to be so glamorous. You really have to have a vision. You have to share that vision, and you have to revisit that vision to make sure you're in line all the time, because you can get discouraged really quickly when things don't go 100% right.
All right, so you guys are newborn parents. You guys literally just had a baby. What is that like for your relationship? What is this new family life like?
Ooh, it's a lot. It is a beautiful mess. Like, it is some of the most beautiful moments, beautiful times, and then it's some of the most challenging times where we have to really like tune in, figure out like how are we gonna get over this hump, or just so many changes all at once. And there's no like, you know, book to tell you exactly how to do it. There's plenty of parenting books, but you have to figure out your own style. So I think it's just rolling with the punches and being open to change. That's one part. What do you think?
I think having a child in itself is hard, but then you add a pandemic on top of that and entrepreneurship on top of that. It's real crazy. So you have to kind of, like the best thing she said, roll with the punches, know that it's not easy anyway, be accepting, be able to pick up the slack where needed, and just get the job done, because the baby doesn't care what you have going on.
Now that is, you know, and sometimes you have the hardest day, and then you get to like look the little person in their eyes and like they smile at you, and you're their hero. So it's just like, okay, I might have screwed up X, Y, and Z, but this is one thing that we're doing right. So it's just it's ups and downs, but it's great.
A common thing for married people is that marriage is hard. So do you guys believe that marriage is hard? What's your take on it?
I believe that marriage is as hard as you make it. You're supposed to, if you marry the right person, I will give you that. So it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be exciting. You're supposed to want to spend time with that partner. So if you have the wrong marriage, okay, I can understand it'll be difficult, but there will be ups and downs. But if it's the right person, it's worth it. So I don't think it's hard. It's not easy, but it is what you make it.
I would definitely define it as fun first and foremost. Like when you literally get to like do life with your best friend. So you always have somebody to do things with. You always have somebody in your corner. Even when you're arguing or whatever, like you're still in each other's corner at the end of the day. And I think Nate said a great thing is when you choose the right person, you got to put that work in on the forefront. You got to build that foundation. And then like really the hard work is choosing the right person. Once you do that.
Hi, I'm McGee.
I'm Terece.
And we have been married for
5 years.
6 years, coming up really soon.
So 5.
Yeah.
Plus some months.
Yeah. But we've known each other since 2012.
Yep.
Sweet deal. And for my profession, I'm actually a nonprofit executive in the youth development space. I like to think of myself as a youth development professional, but more importantly, for me, executive leadership is kind of like my brain, and that's what I like to hang my hat on.
Mm-hmm. And I am a marriage and family therapist. So I work with families, kids, individuals, and couples. Couples are my favorite.
People say marriage is hard. That's a common thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys think? Is marriage hard?
So when I hear people ask me, is marriage hard? I'm a straight shooter and I'm optimistic, but I'm going to tell you that a good marriage is hard. And I don't think that you should shy away from it. Okay, so my thing is, when we make decisions, then I think that we should be able to make decisions with full context. But when I say marriage is hard, I also like to immediately combat it by saying marriage is also so easy. There are moments where it is so easy, and there's moments where it really is challenging. And the challenging part more so have to deal with areas where you are trying to figure out, how do I compromise, and how do I take my independent thought, her independent thought, and we actually find some common ground. So for me, the harder parts are the common ground, but there's more easy moments in marriage. There's more easy moments, but I think anything that you're working toward, whether it's working out, a diet, or learning how to drive, there are hard, challenging moments in it. And generally the hardest parts are the transitions. But once you actually make the transitions, there's the ease that comes with it.
Yeah, and I think for me, I think when we hear marriage is hard, like there's a lot of, I feel like now pushback about it, because think about when you hear something being hard that doesn't sound, when that's the first thing you hear about marriage, that's my probably only issue about it. It's like if the first thing that comes out somebody's mouth is marriage is hard, it's just like, okay, well, what else is it? And I think that's what really needs to be talked about, is what else is marriage among the challenge, right? Because the challenge is going to be there, but it doesn't mean it's only that one thing. So being able to hold the fact that marriage is going to be challenging in a hand, and also hold the fact that it's fun, that it's exciting, that at times it can be scary. Like there's so many mixed emotions and experiences that go on in a marriage. To sum it up as hard, I think is not accurate. So it's more of just trying to make it black and white when it's really a spectrum of gray.
I would say marriage is dynamic.
Talk about spiritual well-being and emotional well-being,
You do spiritual.
and how they are keys in a relationship.
Okay.
What's interesting about spiritual well-being in a relationship is that at the end of the day, I still believe that spiritual well-being in relationship is still an individual approach first. And one of the reasons that that's significant for me is because I always think about, from a spiritual perspective, especially in my position as a husband, it's like I need to be solid, in a solid place. I need to make sure that grounded, making sure that I'm taking care of myself first, before I can lend myself to taking care of my wife, taking care of my daughter, and being just having good energy in the house, being able to lead and to have vision. And so the spiritual foundation can, for me, whether that's reading the word, whether that's meditating, whether that's fun and quiet time, that's one of the things that I'm really big on, and she'll tell you that for me it's all about reflecting and just spending time with yourself. And in doing that, I think that when I'm better spiritually, when I'm grounded, the energy is better.
Yeah. And I think the same goes for emotional well-being too. So when you're stable emotionally, you're able to bring that stability to your relationship. So you're not so easily rattled by the clash of personalities that happen in relationship or conflict. And I think one of the big things for me, or that I think about when I think about emotional well-being, is like this whole concept of like, you get married, you want your spouse to make you happy, right? Your marriage is about being happy. But in actuality, we're individually responsible for our own happiness. So when we get into a relationship and our expectation is like, I'm waiting on you to make me happy, or it's my job to make you happy, then you're basically setting yourself up to be on an emotional roller coaster, essentially. So taking charge of your own happiness and then having a partner who contributes to that, and being a partner who genuinely wants to contribute to your partner's happiness, I think that can help lay that foundation for emotional stability. So we're not looking for someone to fill in gaps or like holes that we have. We're whole already, and then we're joining ourselves emotionally with another person. And then when you go about it that way, then when you have like conflict or like when things aren't lining up, then you're able to kind of overcome that, I think, without as much distress as if you're hanging your hat on like somebody making you happy.
I want to follow up to the previous question with spiritual well-being and emotional well-being. Can you have one without the other, or do you need both in a relationship?
I actually think that you can have emotional well-being without having spiritual well-being. And the reason I say that, I mean, like, not everyone has a personal relationship with God, my faith as a Christian. So I have like lordship and then like I've accepted Jesus as like Lord and Savior, right? But everyone doesn't take that same posture. And I believe that even outside of that posture, you can have emotional well-being. However, with the direct correlation of my faith, my spiritual well-being, it really helps me regulate myself emotionally when things are out of line. And so there are times emotionally where I don't have the power or the ability, capacity, bandwidth, whatever you want to say, to rely on my own strength. And in those moments, I lean into my faith, my spiritual well-being to aid me in my emotional stability.
Yeah, I would, and I definitely agree with that. And kind of summing up what you said. So essentially, if you have spiritual well-being as a part of your lifestyle, I think some emotional stability and emotional well-being is going to come along with that, without really having to necessarily lock in and say I'm focused on emotional well-being. Versus on the other end, you can learn skills to improve your own emotional well-being, even if you don't ascribe to any type of higher power or spiritual practice. But I agree that like spiritually, it's kind of going to go hand in hand. If you're spiritually stable and have that foundation, and you kind of work whatever those principles are, because regardless of religion, like a lot of the principles are the same even across various religious and spiritual practices. And a lot of them do speak to emotional well-being, how to regulate emotions, how to forgive, how to take risks, take chances. Like there's so much of that kind of goes across the board. So if you have that spiritual practice in your life, I think emotional well-being is going to come along with that. But on the flip side, you could have emotional and not necessarily ascribe to any kind of spiritual practice.
The only thing I was going to add to it is that even as a believer, and you know, it's not. I don't have to proselytize wherever I go, right, and just force my faith on people.
Jesus didn't do that.
Right. But I do, when I talk to people and I want to talk to them about faith without projecting on them, and even if I want to use scripture as the context, I talk about the principles that are found in scripture. And I don't have to say, well, Romans 10 said this, because for me, that is like a religious mindset to say, hey, let me, you know, even, it's not anything wrong with calling out Romans 10 or Matthew 12 or anything of that nature, but you gotta assess the room and understand who your audience. Because if I'm really trying to reach you and help you be better, then, and I know that you don't subscribe to this faith, like, it's not gonna hurt. It's not gonna hurt the principle. It's not gonna hurt the word for me to take out the chapter and the verse that it came from.
Yeah.
But what's more important is, can I get you the principle of this particular scripture that's going to help you get what you need? So I approach, regardless of who you are, I approach scripture even from a principle state and show people the principle, the rooted principle in this particular scripture, whether Jesus said it, whether an apostle said it, or whether the prostitute that is found in the Bible as well said it. There's principle in it that can serve us all.
Yeah, and I think also talking about character, if you're going to talk even specifically Christianity, talking about the character of Christ. So that a lot of the things that you see in the media don't even align to people who are saying a certain thing of God did this or God believes this or Jesus wouldn't or would do this. If we go and just look at the character of who he was as a human being, then you're going to be able to cancel out a lot of the noise that's out there anyway, and not get so caught up in like, oh, this specific scripture that comes from what, 100 AD, BC, whatever it is, in a whole different context, a whole different society. Like we cherry pick things out of context and make them fit to what we want to fix our opinion, fit our opinions, our beliefs, right? Jesus didn't operate that way. So when you look at the character of Christ and who he was just in general across the board, and who God is, at least who I understand him to be, is not a forceful being, right? So God and Jesus, they don't force themselves on anyone, right? You get to choose whether you want to believe, whether you want to accept, whether you want whatever it is that Christianity, whatever spirituality, what it has to offer, you get to choose. So no one is forcing you and telling you, hey, you gotta do this. So when you're in situations where someone's telling you like, hey, you gotta believe this, and that's not the character of Christ. Now people can speak truth to you as they understand it, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be a forceful approach. And I think now in the media you see a lot of people forcing agendas, and that doesn't align with the character of Christ or who he is. So
taking a scripture and not knowing that time period. I was having a conversation with her about even Martin Luther King and some of the speeches that he gave in the past, and seeing these quotable moments that they had, but not understanding, wait a minute, let me tell you when this was. Did you hear the entire speech? Do you know what was going on during that time?
Context is everything.
Yeah, context is very, very important. And so I wanted to hit on that. Back to the relationship piece though, real quick. So as a spouse, how can you help your husband? How can you help your wife when they need that additional emotional support or that additional spiritual guidance in your relationship?
I knew you was going to want me to start.
Because I'm going voice.
It's so convenient to start with this one too. Emotional support. I think as a wife or a husband,
Let's talk about me.
what?
Just talk about it.
As a wife, how I give support to Aaron. I think for me as a Christian, part of it is praying for him, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that I'm not gonna have the answer to or know what to do about. So prayer is a big part of that in our family. But then also just being there. So like the gift of presence is real, because sometimes your partner isn't even gonna know what they need emotionally in a moment. So just being open and present, I think for me is good, because I tend to, by default, I can be a pushy person. Like, especially if it's something going on emotionally, like, I want you to talk to me and I want you to tell me what's wrong, because then I'm gonna try and fix it, right? And that's not even my responsibility necessarily, nor my job. It may not even be what Aaron wants me to do, right? So being able to be present and then allow him to kind of sit in whatever he's sitting in, and me not try to fix it and not trying to come and tell him what he did wrong and why he's in the situation he's in, or tell him what he needs to do to get out of it, but just be there. And then he'll open up when he's ready and let me know, like, hey, this is what I need. I need a break. I need to go pray. I need to go out and have a good night out. Like, whatever it is, let him arrive at that and just be supportive in that moment. So being present, I think, is one of the biggest ones that work, regardless if you know what to do or what the solution is. Being there and helping them in that way, I think, is a big thing.
Yeah, and I'll follow that up by saying the presence piece, and then when you do know, the acknowledgement piece, right? So, and you made a good point. It's not that being a spouse that we have the ability to actually solve one another's problems.
Yeah.
Because some things you just have to work out on your own, right? But I think the acknowledgement of, hey, I see something that's not right. I see that maybe your energy is off, maybe your behaviors or your patterns has changed. I want to acknowledge it. If you have the capacity to tell me, then tell me.
Mm-hmm.
If you need more time to figure out what it is, because I was going through something last year where I didn't even realize what was going on. I just knew that I was even different. Mm-hmm. And Terece was able to give me the space to figure out what was going on with me so that I can get the language to actually come back and communicate that. And then I'm not sure, I can't remember if we worked it out together or if she gave me the space that I needed.
It was both.
Probably both,
but
right?
Your space was first, like you having that time, and I think as you had that, we were having conversations, like, so kind of simultaneously, like you're taking your time reflecting, and then we're coming back together and discussing, and kind of bouncing ideas off each other, trying to work towards a solution together, which can be hard when neither one of you know what the answer is, and you're like kind of stuck in it together. So I think it's helpful to have that individual time, but then also coming together to kind of hash stuff out and talk about it, and know and remember that you're friends, and be able to come together in that space and be like, okay, here's what we're dealing with, but here's what I know about you as my friend, so let's have a friend conversation about it. Sometimes that helps when you're dealing with like difficult conversations, so you're not just coming at it like wife, husband, you did this, I did this. It can kind of level the playing field a little bit and bring down your defenses so that you can talk and really get to a solution. Because I feel like a solution can always be found. It's just a matter of the path you're gonna take to it, and if you're gonna choose to find it.
What's up, everybody? I'm Barrett.
And I'm India.
And we are the Newsomes.
The Newsomes, yes. We have been together since 2010.
The best years of my life.
And we've been married for 6 years.
6 solid years. So we have a podcast together called She and I Podcast. It is the best relationship podcast in the world. So that's what I do. It's a hobby, right? But by trade, I am a digital consumer marketer. And I also have a defensive driving school that I own. What do you do, India?
I'm a stay-at-home mom.
Super mom.
First.
Not this regular stay-at-home, a super mom.
I also own a business. I own a shop called Pink Little Birdie. We do stationery and all that fun stuff. And I also produce events.
Why do you think some people feel like life stops for parents once they have children? And how can you avoid that feeling?
So I'm gonna go out and say, because for a lot of couples, life does stop. It's just that they don't know how to navigate. And so I think that's been a big part of our relationship.
Right on.
Because when you throw a kid into the bunch, it does get difficult. But there was this one thing that stuck with me when I was pregnant. Remember when I was, what were we doing? Lamaze classes.
Yeah, Lamaze class.
And the instructor said, make sure that you go on a date at least every 6 weeks.
She did say that. She said if you don't, bring your husband. Why put everything back on the husband? Bring your husband to us. I'm gonna make sure I slap him in the head. She didn't really do it. Also, she said something. It's difficult. It's not impossible, right?
Yeah.
So you do have to find time to manage, right? You have to know how to manage time and kind of juggle between your personal life and also being an individual unit, a cohesive bunch.
It's almost like if you wanted to stop, then life will stop. But we just always been the type of couple. We like to have fun, and we like to kick it. So we work around it. We have trustworthy people that, you know,
Village.
that's our village that will watch Blake while we go spend time alone.
Yes.
What did dating look like before the pandemic and during the pandemic?
Ooh, I was outside. You know what I mean? They called me Mr. Outdoors. Before the pandemic, you couldn't keep me from going outside. I thought, man, I didn't know what to do. When the sun was out, the buns was out. Not really in that type of way, but I had. But no, we used to go on dates quite frequently, and this is something that I had to adjust. Being a man, I like to take my wife, and this is not patriarchal, but I do like to take my wife out to different events. And it was always great trying to find new and exclusive places to take her, even in a town like Nashville, where it's something new to do every day. You just have to go out and find it. And being able to take my wife out and try to impress her is what I wanted to do. But outside was up. But inside, been a little tough. Netflix me up. You know what I mean? That's all I really got.
No, I will say that it's been difficult for me because I like concerts. I like plays. I love going to the theater, and we just can't do that kind of stuff right now. And I will say that 2020 brought the guns out. Like, we argued a lot, and I would say at the beginning of it, it was centered around us not having time together because being in the house, it's just like, well, why do I need to take you on a date? We see each other all day, every day. We're in the house. We're doing all the things. So we have to get very creative.
And it's valued even in being creative, because once you start to get your creative juices flowing, then your relationship is just going to start going in different ways. It's all about creativity and mixing it up. So being at home has done two things. It forced us to communicate better, and it also forced me and you too to be more creative.
So you guys have been together for over a decade. How have you managed to stay together all these years?
By the grace of God. It hasn't been the most easy thing at times, but it also has been the most rewarding thing at the same time, right?
I was gonna say, I don't think there was ever a question on us being able to stay together until the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
The pandemic forced us to, we realized it's like, wow, we really don't know each other all that well anymore. It's like, you know, being together for over a decade, you just get into the motions, right? So it's just like, we're together because we're married. But being in the house, we really had to sit down and get to know each other. It's like, what do you like? What are you interested in? So I would say like the first 6 months of quarantine was us like being very confused with each other.
I didn't know what
the last I'm gonna say last 6 months of quarantine, it was just like, okay, let me tap into the things that you're interested in.
Right. So I will say, like, over the decade, it's all been about evolving, right? Like the person I married in 14, is not the same person that I sit with today. So if I know that and I keep that in mind, it's all about evolving. Like, all right, cool. Like, I know things are gonna change. So in order for me to keep that in mind, I also have to realize that I am going to change as well. So how am I going to change for the better to help us evolve in our relationship? So I think that's really it. Like, evolve or die. I'll get a divorce, but don't get a divorce.
No, we're not doing that. Well, because I was 19 when we first started dating. I'm 30 now.
So,
obviously, you're not the same person. So it's 100% about evolving. That was a good word.
In parenthood, I know time can be an issue for the intimacy conversation. So how do you balance parenthood and the intimacy?
It's a good question, man. So I think my son, like, he realizes that intimacy is important, because if he sees me hug mommy, like, he's like, oh, daddy, I want to hug too. So he like sees the hug, and when I say intimacy, I'm not all about like having sex right now, right? I'm talking about like making sure that I give you a little hug, give you a little kiss, you know what I mean? So I try to make sure that I'm doing all this to fulfill India. Now listen, I slack off, I ain't gonna lie to you, because sometimes I get, I don't know, I just get irritated about some things, but...
No, I think we both slack off, and I don't even think it has anything to do with that. It's just that we're tired.
Ooh.
That's what it is. It's just, we get up, we work, now we're both at home. All three of us are at home together every single day. He's working his job,
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
working on my business, and we're still having to parent. So by the time the end of the day comes, it's like, what intimacy?
Yeah.
So we are having to put in a lot of extra effort to make sure that that aspect of our relationship is present.
But I will say, I like listening to other people and getting advice from some of our friends. Like the intimacy sometimes can start well before the nighttime hits. So I think we have to also be intentional about not only making time to be parents and making time for our work schedule, but we have to do a better job of being intentional and being intimate with one another. It's through texting, hugging, kissing, whatever it is, but we have to do a better job. Just be intentional. If you know you want to kiss your wife on the forehead, you better kiss that girl. So there it is.
You asking for relationships?
My bad.
Okay, it's a common theme for people to say that marriage is hard. So do you guys believe that marriage is hard?
I'll let you go first, because I got my answer ready to go.
Marriage doesn't have to be hard.
Okay.
Marriage is as hard as you make it. I feel like when people say that marriage is hard, there's usually a lot of disconnect, a lot of lack of communication, a lot of needs not being met. But I feel like the more present you are with each other in your marriage, the less hard it has to be.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say this too. I think the same people that say marriage is hard, probably the same people who think marriage is not fun, right? If you put the time and you invest the time and the energy in making your marriage fun, then it doesn't have to be difficult. True enough, everybody has their ups and their downs. You get mad at your boss, you get mad at your parents, you're gonna get mad at your spouse as well. But it's about working through that anger and then coming out on the other side. Like I said, I mean, if you spend the exact same amount of energy in making your marriage fun, I promise that you're going to make marriage a lot less hard than it has to be. Like, don't go into it being negative. Go into it with a positive outlook on it, and I bet you will be successful. I will say this too. Go ahead.
I was going to say the big thing for us has been, I would say over the past couple of months, is grace. Giving each other grace, because we give everybody else grace around us. When our bosses piss us off, when our parents piss us off, when all these other people piss us off, we give them a pass. But when our spouses piss us off, we go so hard and we're so angry. And so I think that over the past couple of months, we've been learning to give each other the same grace that we give everybody else, so that it's not as hard. It's like, my spouse is human. He messes up. It's okay. We just gonna move past it.
There it is. Grace.
So you guys heard it all right here on this couch. You heard about emotional and spiritual well-being and financial well-being. You heard what it looks like to be in a relationship for over a decade. What else did they get from the people?
We heard about, financial literacy as well, dating, learning how to communicate as well, and, just getting a lot of feedback from each couple about how you can stay happy even during a pandemic. It was some great conversation we had, definitely.
Yeah, so we have also been together for 11 years. So I will have to say that the thing that has kept us together for 11 years is just constantly evolving and having fun with each other. Both of us are down for an adventure. So traveling and going out to eat and trying a new place, and also just like learning each other consistently has been something that's been really helpful for us in the 11 years that we've been together.
And also just knowing that she is on my team, and she's my right-hand man, woman, my best friend, my counselor, my coach when I need it. She's everything that I need, and I think that's very, very important in a successful marriage.
So yeah, teammates are going to be your best option when it comes to marriage, because no matter what, you guys are on the same team. It's all about who is living in the house with you, who is helping you pay the bills, who's helping you manage life, who's helping you manage your emotional and spiritual well-being, financial well-being, and all of that. So what would you say to the question of the hour? Is marriage hard?
All the couples gave great answers, and I love hearing different perspectives. My perspective is very simple. I've never thought marriage was hard. I feel like our relationship, yes, we've had, disagreements, but it was disagreements to help our relationship grow, to get better. You know, we had to find that common ground to figure out how can we go to the next level together. And after we figure it out, man, it's a party. I mean, we have a lot of fun, like she said. You know, I mean, we enjoy doing life together, and that's what it's all about. I think Barry said it earlier. Like, if I'm going out somewhere, I want to bring her with me. If I'm going out of state, I have friends that say, "Hey, man, we're going out of town." All right, great, Jasmine, you want to go out of town? It's just one of those things where I want her with me all the time, and it's a fun experience. We're doing life together, and you know, I'm looking forward to the next chapter in our life.
Yeah, so for us, marriage is definitely a party, and we've been married going on 4 years, so I think we're past the newlywed phase.
Absolutely.
And I know when we first got married, a lot of people were like, oh, well, the newlywed phase, once that's over, it's gonna get hard, but we're here to tell you and be a living testimony that it can still be fun, it can still be an adventure, it can still be one big old party. Every day in our house, we're sharing new music with each other, we're finding a new TV show to watch, we are planning our next vacation, we're talking about ways in which we can invest in ourselves and each other, and we're talking about ways that we can move forward as a team. So for all of you guys out there watching, we hope you guys learned so much from all of the married couples today and their dating experience and their lives as married people, and also their lives carrying new little people into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you all, everyone that sat down on the couch and actually got vulnerable and had a great conversation. We appreciate you so much, and we'll be looking forward to hanging out here soon. You have anything else?
I don't. Until next time, thank you for watching all of our sweet testimonies.
Bye.
So you guys heard it all right here on this couch. You heard about emotional and spiritual well-being and financial well-being. You heard what it looks like to be in a relationship for over a decade. What else did they get from the people?
You know, we heard about, you know, financial literacy as well, dating, you know, learning how to communicate as well, and, you know, just getting a lot of feedback from each couple about how you can stay happy even during a pandemic. It was some great conversation we had, definitely.
Yeah, so we have also been together for 11 years. So I will have to say that the thing that has kept us together for 11 years is just constantly evolving and having fun with each other. Both of us are down for an adventure, so traveling and going out to eat and trying a new place, and also just like learning each other consistently has been something that's been really helpful for us in the 11 years that we've been together.
And also just knowing that she is on my team, and she's my right-hand man, woman, my best friend, you know, my counselor, you know, my coach when I need it. She's everything that I need, and I think that's very, very important in a successful marriage.
So yeah, teammates are going to be your best option when it comes to marriage, because no matter what, you guys are on the same team. It's all about who is living in the house with you, who is helping you pay the bills, who's helping you manage life, who's helping you manage your emotional and spiritual well-being, financial well-being, and all of that. So what would you say to the question of the hour? Is marriage hard?
All the couples gave great answers, and I love hearing different perspectives. My perspective is very simple. I've never thought marriage was hard. I feel like our relationship, yes, we've had, you know, disagreements, but it was disagreements to help our relationship grow, to get better. You know, we had to find that common ground to figure out how can we go to the next level together. And after we figure it out, man, it's a party. I mean, we have a lot of fun, like she said. You know, I mean, we enjoy doing life together, and that's what it's all about. I think Barry said it earlier. Like, if I'm going out somewhere, I want to bring her with me. If I'm going out of state, I have friends that say, "Hey, man, we're going out of town." All right, great, Jasmine, you want to go out of town? It's just one of those things where I want her with me all the time, and it's a fun experience. We're doing life together, and you know, I'm looking forward to the next chapter in our life.
Yeah, so for us, marriage is definitely a party, And we've been married going on 4 years, so I think we're past the newlywed phase.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know when we first got married, a lot of people were like, oh, well, the newlywed phase, once that's over, it's gonna get hard. But we're here to tell you and be a living testimony that it can still be fun, it can still be an adventure, it can still be one big old party. Every day in our house, we're sharing new music with each other, we're finding a new TV show to watch, we are planning our next vacation, we're talking about ways in which we can invest in ourselves and each other, and we're talking about ways that we can move forward as a team. So for all of you guys out there watching, we hope you guys learned so much from all of the married couples today and their dating experience and their lives as married people, and also their lives carrying new little people into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you all, everyone that sat down on the couch and actually got vulnerable and had a great conversation. We appreciate you so much, and we'll be looking forward to hanging out here soon. You have anything else? We'll close
I don't. Until next time, thank you for watching all of our sweet testimonies.
Bye.